Picture two people at the same company. One is the firefighter. They're fast, reliable, always available. Every time something breaks, they jump in, fix it, and save the day. Slack pings light up. Meetings start with, "Thank God you're here." The other is the strategist. They're not as visible day to day, but they're quietly changing systems so fewer things break in the first place. They document, they automate, they say no more often. Now here's the twist. Both are talented, both work hard, but only one is being rewarded in a way that shapes their entire career without them noticing. Because your career isn't just shaped by your skills, it's shaped by invisible incentives. The rewards, praise, promotions, attention, and relief you get for certain behaviors. And those incentives can trap you. If your team only celebrates emergencies, you'll become an emergency specialist. If your boss only notices responsiveness, you'll become permanently on call. If promotions go to the person who handles everything, you'll become indispensable to the job you don't want. That's the most dangerous compliment in a career. "We couldn't do this without you." Because what they often mean is, "We've built a system that depends on you staying exactly where you are." And the scariest part? You might think you're climbing, but you're actually getting deeper. Here's how invisible incentives work. They reward what's urgent, not what's important. They reward what's loud, not what's valuable. They reward what's measurable this week, not what compounds over years. So you start optimizing for the fastest reward. You answer instantly. You take the messy projects. You become the fixer. And then months later, you look up and realize you're great at the work you're trying to escape. If you've ever wondered why you keep getting more of the same no matter how hard you work, it's probably not your talent. It's your incentive environment. Now, I'm not going to leave you with a teaser and a cliffhanger. Here's one concrete redesign tactic you can use today, an appetizer that changes the whole game. It's called Make the Invisible Work Visible, because the strategist loses when their impact is quiet. So you have to package it. Start a simple one-page impact log. 3 columns. 1. Problem prevented. 2. System improved. 3. Time saved or risk reduced. Every time you automate a step, document a process, remove a recurring bug, or prevent a future fire, write it down. Then, in your next one-to-one, don't say, "I've been working hard." Say, "Here are 3 fires we won't have next month because of what I changed." That shifts the incentive. You're no longer rewarded for panic, you're rewarded for prevention. And once prevention becomes visible, you can negotiate for it. You can ask for projects that scale. You can justify fewer interruptions. You can move from being the hero of chaos to the designer of calm. So the real question isn't, how do I work harder? It's, what behavior is my environment paying me to repeat? Because whatever gets rewarded gets repeated. And that's how invisible incentives shape your career without you noticing. 9:07 a.m. You open your inbox and there it is, a calendar invite titled Quick Sync. No agenda, no context. Your stomach tightens. You were about to start the work that actually moves your career forward, and now your brain is doing math. What did I miss? Who's upset? How fast can I make this go away? Here's the part nobody tells you. Most career decisions aren't driven by ambition. They're driven by invisible incentives, tiny rewards and punishments baked into your environment that train you to choose comfort over growth without you noticing. Because your brain isn't asking, what's the best long-term move? It's asking, what reduces pressure right now? And in most jobs, the fastest way to reduce pressure is to be responsive, agreeable, and constantly available. That's why you end up optimizing for the wrong scoreboard. The visible scoreboard says promotions, skills, impact. But the invisible scoreboard says 0 unread messages, no awkward conversations, no one waiting on you, no risk. Let's make this concrete. Imagine 2 colleagues on the same team, not good versus bad, just different incentives. Alex is rewarded for speed. Every time Alex answers instantly, the pressure drops. People say, "You're amazing." That praise is a paycheck in dopamine. Alex becomes the default fixer, the human fire extinguisher. Jordan is rewarded for depth. Jordan blocks time, says no, ships fewer things, but the things that ship change systems. The problem? Jordan's reward is delayed, sometimes invisible, sometimes political, and delayed rewards are harder for your brain to trust. If your workplace constantly creates emergencies, Alex's incentive structure wins, not because Alex is better, but because the environment pays out immediately. And over months, that shapes identity. I'm the reliable one, which sounds like a compliment, until it becomes a trap. Now here's the viral truth most people miss, so listen closely. Incentive is relief, not money, not titles, relief. The instant your anxiety drops, your brain marks that behavior as correct, even if it quietly derails your career. That's why you keep saying yes to meetings you don't need, why you rewrite slides at midnight, why you avoid the hard conversation that would fix the root problem. Each time, you buy relief with your future. So what do? You audit the incentives, not your motivation. Ask, what behavior gets rewarded instantly here? What behavior gets punished subtly? What work creates long-term leverage but feels uncomfortable today? Then you design counter-incentives. Make deep work visible. Track outcomes, not activity. Create a personal scoreboard, one metric for impact, one metric for skill, one metric for relationships, and protect them like your job depends on it, because it does. Because the scary part isn't that your career is shaped by incentives. The scary part is that if you don't choose them, someone else already did. You didn't choose your career path by willpower. You chose it by incentives you can't see. Not the obvious ones like salary, the invisible ones, the tiny rewards and punishments that trained you quietly over years. And here's the conflict. You can feel stuck even when you're doing everything right, because the system around you is paying you to stay exactly where you are. The payoff of understanding this is simple. Once you can see the incentive, you can renegotiate it. Because most careers don't drift because of one big decision. They drift because of micro payoffs. You speak up in a meeting, someone smirks. You learn, don't. You take on an extra project. Your boss praises you. You learn, over-deliver. You say yes to one temporary responsibility. It becomes your identity. None of these moments feel like a fork in the road. But they're shaping what you practice, and what you practice becomes what you get hired for. Here's the part most people miss. Incentives don't just push you toward work. They push you away from risks. If your workplace rewards speed, you stop experimenting. If it rewards harmony, you stop disagreeing. If it rewards availability, you stop having boundaries. Eventually, you don't even feel the pressure anymore. You call it personality. You call it being realistic. But it's trained behavior, paid for with social currency. So let's make this visible, fast. Open a note and draw 2 columns. Left column, what I'm rewarded for. Right column, what I say I want. Now fill the left column with receipts, not opinions. What gets praised? What gets promoted? What gets repeated back to you as your strength? What mistakes get punished, even subtly? Then write the right column, the work you actually want more of, the skills you want to build, the kind of life you want your job to fit into. The gap between those columns is your invisible contract, and here's the real payoff. You don't fix your career by finding motivation. You fix it by changing the math. 3 ways to do that. 1. Reframe your outputs. If you want strategic work, start delivering strategic artifacts, briefs, roadmaps, analyses, not just execution. 2. Renegotiate rewards. Ask for goals that match the work you want, not just the work you're good at. 3. Change the environment. If the incentive structure can't change, you can, because if you keep accepting the same rewards, you keep buying the same future. Look at your 2 columns again. If your rewards are training you into a career you don't want, that's not a character flaw, that's an incentive problem. And the moment you name it, you can stop calling it confusion, you can stop calling it burnout, you can stop calling it just how work is, it's just math.